let Coach Cooley open with a statement.
I don't know if I have a statement or a concern. First, I got to give St. John's a ton of credit. Their defense was elite. Their defense was bothersome. I thought they were really connected. I thought they were really, really good a couple of weeks ago, or was it 10 or 15 days when we played them. They talked about for them not to be ranked in that particular time. They just had a lot of answers defensively. And again, talking to my team, which was really disappointing, you can't let a ranked team, get a 28, 29-point lead in 20 minutes. I thought we were sleepwalking. I didn't feel the energy before the game. We looked tired. We looked lackluster. We didn't look coached. We looked disconnected. It just was, we looked like the bad news Hoyas out there, not even the bad news Bears. That actually is an embarrassment to the Bears, right? You're playing at home. You're coming off a really disappointing loss on the road. But what I can say is we're at a point here where you got to continue to inspire your guys, lift them up, right? It's not the end of the world. So for us, it's a breaking point as far as, how much do we want to compete? I thought they were more physical from 1 through 5 on every possession. We made a slight adjustment in the second half, but I think, they capitalized on our turnovers in the second half. I think that's how they scored many of their points in the second half was off of our turnovers and our lack of execution. You give them a lot of credit. That was a defensive clinic that they just put on and put a foot right in our ass, a complete foot in our ass. And, we got to bounce back as we got another game here on Wednesday. And before I take any questions, I think it's important to know back-to-back games, and I haven't had this since I've coached in the Big East, where the team that we played had a bye. And I don't know if it's a metric system in the league. Providence has 8 days off. We played 2 games. St. John's has a week off. So you can see the energy and how healthy they were and how lackluster we looked. And I'm not saying that's why we lost at all. And I absolutely love the Big East. But that's a big time disadvantage when somebody can prepare for you, especially with the level of coaching in this league. It's really, really hard to overcome that when we're trying to rebuild this program. Again, that is not any excuse of getting our ass kicked today. But I'll be damned if they weren't more fresh and more excited than we were, and that happened in the last game as well. So we'll put on our big boy pants, we'll roll up our sleeves, and get ready for a really hard game come Friday night. Hopefully we can have a great crowd to get behind our guys, because right now we need you.
All right, let's start with questions. Gene Wong from the Post.
Eddie, you mentioned St. John's defensively.
Big time.
In the early few minutes, what particularly were they doing to kind of get you on your heels?
I think they were physical. I think they were energetic. They're very disruptive. They're very, very disruptive. They switched 5 ways, right? They were first to the ball. They were hitting first, right? They were the aggressor. And I thought their aggression, their length came into play. They were in heavy, heavy gap help. They contested everything at the rim. I was really, really impressed with their defense. Very impressed with their defense.
Let's go to Patrick Stevens with Discourse.
Ed,
What's up, Pat?
Ed, do you think the amount of motion that was spent on Saturday took a bit too much out of you coming into this one?
I didn't think about that. I think it's a fair question. I don't know. I don't know. We definitely didn't have the pop, especially the first 20 minutes. And the second 20 minutes, you're playing with your pride, right? You're playing at home. You're coming off a tough loss. It could be I really didn't think about that. Well, I'm telling you what I thought about was 2 teams back-to-back coming off a bye. And we got to do something about that. We have to do something about that because it is a competitive disadvantage. I don't give a damn if you're playing, the CYO team from, around the corner. It's just, the league has to do a way better job with that.
We're going to go to Ron Bailey, but if anyone on that side needs the mic, please make sure to raise your hand and we'll get it over to you.
Recently, last couple games, you haven't been getting the offensive punch from the other guys, like the Williamses, maybe the Burks. What do you attribute that to? Are they hitting the wall? Are they now being scouted against? What would you attribute that to?
We're playing a great league. Coaching is superior. It could be all. It could be all. It could be a lot of different things. 41 points in a high major game. We scored 60-something points in our last game. I don't know if we got to 70 since December in the Big East game. So, we got to look at our offense, our shot selection. We had 6 assists today. 6. I think that's the lowest we've had all year. So the ball's not moving. That's on us, the coaches. We got to address that. So it could be. I don't have the exact answer on it. I don't. But, we'll try to figure it out.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We're gonna have Dave Preston, then go to Jeremy Huber.
Ed, this isn't your first rodeo, and this isn't your
I don't.
first rough patch that
Yeah,
you've had
yeah.
with any of your teams. How have you gotten teams out of stretches like this in the past?
Whenever you're in a stretch like this and you're a coach or you're a leader, the last thing you got to do is blame, point fingers. You point out the things you've done well to get you to a point of having an opportunity to succeed, right? So many coaches and so many, you have a bad game like this, you play at home, it's an embarrassing loss with respect to because you feel like you got manhandled. You got to go back to, the basics, okay? Clean it up with film, inspire your guys, let them know it's not the end of the world. You're very disappointed, right? I love when somebody feels disappointed because they let you down, right? And I think if you inspire them as the leader and you continue to infuse energy into them and let them know it's okay to have a mistake, but how do we correct that? Right now is not the time to drop the hammer on their head and, with this, with that. No, it's a game, didn't play well. Credit what I thought was the best defensive performance I've seen that I've coached against in probably 10 years. That defense was elite today that we played against.
And along those lines, I guess, what gives you confidence that this is a bend in the road to the season as opposed to the end of the road?
Well, no, it's not the end of it. We got 10 more games, right? It's just like when people, if you've been married a long time and your spouse or your partner makes a shitty meal, right? It's just a bad meal. It's not that you're not going to have a good meal down the line, right? Today, we had a really, really shitty meal. And, and it'll get better, right? Put a couple of spices and something else. What you can't do, though, honestly, you can't beat your men up. That's the worst thing you can do right now.
And is it weird that you guys have come out in those really tough environments like West Virginia, like the Garden, and played in Marquette, played these teams toe to toe? Here at home is where you've had those really rough first halves against Notre Dame, tonight against UConn.
Oh man, I just look at most games as 94 feet of opportunity. I'm pretty sure there's been a lot of teams around the country that just haven't played well in a stretch, right? Like if we can bottle up the second half first 14 minutes of the game of the second half, that's kind of our team, right? And again, you were down by so much, you needed everything to be perfect. I think it was a 14-point lead. We had a layup, a 2-on-1 with PV and Sorber, and we got nothing. They come down here and hit a 3-game set match. You get it to 12. They had a really tough time in the second half figuring out our zone. Really tough time, right? I mean, it was, just throwing up some stuff at the rim and hope it went in. And I said, where was our energy for that in the first half? But I don't have an answer to that. I don't. I look at every game, no matter where you play, there's 94 feet of opportunity, and they took advantage of theirs today.
Let's get to Kevin Connolly, Storm the Paint.
And a question about St. John's. You've been very complimentary of them going back to a couple weeks ago in the Garden, and now you've played them twice and they haven't had their point guard in Smith. Kind of, what do you think St. John's could be when he gets back on the floor?
I coached Georgetown, man. Last time, they're doing really well without him. I don't know. I haven't played against them with him. It's another athlete on the floor, another tenacious defender. That's more of a question for Coach Pitino. I can only go off of how they played with us, and they've played great without him. That's kind of how I can answer that.
All right. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everyone.